Hello, I'm Marky Dragon, and I just wanted to share a little history with you. So, how many of you know where I got my start? I do. I know, I'm so geeky. I got my start back in 1997 with a game called Ultima Online. And Ultima Online is created by Richard Garriott, who went in the game by the name of Lord British. And here he is right here. I got a picture of him when one of the times when I got to meet him and talk with him. And that was all the way back in 1997. And I remember it was in September of 97 that the game came out, Ultima Online. And before that, it was, I actually had played in the beta. And I wasn't one of the lucky few in the alpha, but my COO here at Marky Dragon Inc., Dennis, he was willing to pop for the CD, because we had to buy the CD to get into the beta, and he was willing to spend the, I don't know, 11 bucks or whatever it was to get into the beta, and so we played on his account. And I had been totally into the original Ultima series, and I started, I guess I was a little bit of a late bloomer in the Ultima areas, because I didn't start playing until Ultima 5. And I started playing that on a XT computer. This was, God, I don't even remember what year this was, but it had to be that I was a teenager or so. And the XT computers, I mean, they were the 8088s and 8086s, and they were typically green screens or amber screens. They didn't have color back then, and in fact, a lot of them didn't even have a hard drive. They were just a couple of floppy drives, and you would put in one floppy as the game disk and the other floppy as the save disk. And I spent so much time playing Ultima, and Ultima 5 is where they introduced the virtues real heavy, and a lot of that is what turned into Ultima Online. So much of the legend, lore, history, all of that made it into Ultima Online, and so when that game came out, I knew that I wanted to play, and I was there day one playing with my own account. And you know, I realized a little bit later, probably that was in September of 97 that we started playing, and in November of 97 I saw my first auction on eBay. And I don't even remember what it was for, but I was so amazed to see somebody selling a sword or a house or something like that in Ultima Online. And I looked at that, and being the entrepreneur that I am, I mean, during this time I owned my own computer store, and I shouldn't have been playing video games, really. I should have been spending all my time on the business. But I was thoroughly addicted to Ultima Online, probably playing 40 hours a week, plus working 40 hours a week at the business or more. And so I realized that there was possibly an opportunity to make some money in Ultima. Well, I started playing around with that, and what I did was I had, I don't know, 3 accounts in November of 97, and I decided that I was going to try and sell a couple of my extra accounts. And I remember, I think each one of them had a house on it, and they had some characters with some pretty good skills and had some other items of value. So I put both of them up online on eBay, and I ended up getting $2,400 for both accounts. I don't remember exactly how much it was per account, but it was $2,400, and I'm like, holy cow, boy can I make a lot of money at this. Because really, I worked just a couple of months, and I made these accounts, and sure, I was playing on them. You know, I probably had a lot of hours invested, you know, at 40 hours a week across 3 accounts. So, you know, I don't know how much time I had invested, but I had a lot of time invested. And $2,400, it's not really, you know, what, well, maybe for a lot of people it's September, October, November. It was, you know, two and a half months worth of playing, and I got $2,400. And I looked at that and I said, man, I can do this. So I started buying accounts, and the accounts that I was buying, I found you know, people that just didn't like the game as well as I did and stuff, and they thought it was just amazing that somebody would offer them a couple $100 for their account if they were leaving the game. So I started buying, and I bought a lot of accounts. I mean, I remember I had hundreds of accounts at one point, and all kinds of inventory, all kinds of houses and stuff, and became a top-level seller on eBay doing that, and everything was awesome. So we really had a great time. But then we started to encounter the fraud. And the fraud is what really separated a lot of the resellers that appeared out there from, there became a lot of them that would just show up, they'd sell for 2 or 3 months, and then they would disappear. And they weren't doing anything wrong except for one thing, and that one thing was they didn't know how to handle the fraud. Well, what this leads me to is, I was talking to Majum last night, and I don't know if you remember Majum or not, but Majum was one of the original UO brokers, and there was probably 10 of us, 12 of us, that we had always been talking together, and there was probably around 30 to 40 sellers at this time, and you know, so we're moving forward in time to about November of 2000. And in 2000, we started this group. Gosh, the guy who started it, I believe that his handle was Papa, and he brought several brokers together, and we all worked together out of one website. And it was pretty good because it allowed us to communicate with each other and do some things that we couldn't do on our own, and to learn new stuff. And so that was really a valuable thing. Well, some people were in it for the money. Some people were in it because they really enjoyed doing this stuff. And myself, if I didn't have expenses, if I didn't have to make a living, if I didn't have bills to pay, I'd have done this all for free. That's how much I enjoyed doing this. And so in November, what happened was, we had this website that we worked through that was uobrokers.com. It got sold, and we were not informed of this, that it was getting sold, until like the day before it happened. And I remember how shocked I was, and I was really disappointed. And I don't know how much was paid for it. And the person who bought it, I'm good friends with him now, and he you know, is still in the business actually. And but back then I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything. And so when the website got sold, we all of a sudden found ourselves with a new boss. And this new boss had his own visions for what we should be doing and everything. And it's kind of interesting, but we actually revolted. And so here we come, this guy bought this website, and I imagine he paid somewhere between, I don't know, $2,000 to $5,000 for the website. Who knows, maybe it was more. And so he comes in thinking that he's gonna, you know, work with all of us brokers and everything, and we're like, holy cow, who is this? We don't know who this is. And it really didn't work out. I ended up talking with the rest of the brokers, and I'm like, guys, I have a big website. I have the resources. Why don't we just build a new site to do this? And that's what we did. We actually, all of us left. I still feel bad about that, but we didn't know the guy at the time. And I know him nowadays, and I wouldn't do that to somebody who I knew, but I didn't even know the guy. So we took all the brokers and we went over to markydragon.net. You know, markydragon.com is one of our big sites, but .net is where we sell Ultima Online items. And in fact, it's still up and running today. But back then, what we did was we took all these brokers and we put everybody on the site. We gave them all the ability to edit their inventories to show how much gold they had for sale and other stuff. And it was bliss. It was really good. We did that for years. And what I really loved about working with these other brokers was the fact that we were able to be stronger working together rather than one person trying to take over the entire market. We turned it into this group of, I don't know, 10 or 12 of us that were all working together, and we ended up being a really big driving force in the market. And we set up things like blacklists and stuff, so we get, one of us would take fraud from somebody, we would immediately post that and post the details of it, and to keep from the rest of us from taking a payment from somebody that was going to fraud us. And I remember we lost, as a group, we lost $13,000 to one guy in Florida. And we did eventually figure out who it was and how he was doing it. But we lost a lot of money, and that really hurt. 13,000 bucks was a lot of money. I mean, even spread across, you know, a dozen people or so, you know, it's still $1,000 each. But yeah, that was really bad. But that was one of the strengths of working together with your competition. And I had heard somebody else use the term co-opetition, and that is what we were. We were a bunch of competitors working together for the same common goals, and we dominated the market, and it was really a lot of fun. So I was talking to Majum last night, and he said about how this was one of the highlights of his life, of his you know, entrepreneurial career, of his owning a business, was this time period where we all worked together, and in a game that we loved, and we all made a living, and it was absolutely excellent. Towards the second half of working on this, we actually worked with a guy named Julian Dibble. He worked for Wired magazine, and we brought him into the fold, and we ended up getting a cover story in Wired magazine, and we ended up in several other articles after that, and it was very, very cool. Later, Julian went on to write a book called Play Money, and Play Money was about his experience. He spent around a year with us being a broker, and it was about his experience of trying to make a living being a broker. Unfortunately, he didn't come in on the upswing. He came in when we were about at our apex, and so, you know, we actually heavily discussed whether or not we would allow him to come in and to take a piece of this market, because we weren't sure we wanted to give up any of the market, because the market was slowly starting to decline. And but I'm really glad we did. It was a lot of fun being in those articles, and then later on, when he wrote the book Play Money, it ended up talking about most all of us brokers that were in there, and you know, he gave the details of his year-long experience trying to make enough money to support himself off of just selling virtual goods. And so that was quite an experience. And so I guess this can lead up to the last the last comment I have on this little section of our history, which is that there's a new film that's in production right now called Play Money Film, and it's playmoneyfilm.com, and it's just called Play Money, but it's playmoneyfilm.com. And again, some of us in this industry are some of the characters portrayed in this documentary, and the documentary, it looks like, will maybe premiere at a film festival, and if it gets legs, maybe it'll go someplace from there. I don't really know, but if nothing else, it'll be out on DVD, and sometime in 2010 is what I'm thinking, and should be a lot of fun. So anyway, you can stay tuned to the markydragon.com site, and we actually will post news about the film and everything when it's coming out. Anyway, I was just reminiscing, and it's all Majum's fault because he called me last night and we talked and got talking about all this old stuff and a lot of this history that I had just forgotten, but that was just really, really great. And I'm just so happy that I was a part of it, and now I'm looking forward to the other history we can make in other areas in this industry.